Hi there, welcome to I'll Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Cancer energy. And we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because not everybody harnesses high vibe Cancer energy because life's about learning lessons and we have to get out of our more self-focused nature or immature, prideful, egotistical, greedy, self-centered, petty, envious, jealous, manipulative, the list goes on. And some people have learned more of those lessons than other people, and we all kind of like to hang out with people who've learned some of the same lessons as ourselves. And so some people, in how they harness their Cancer energy, might harness it in a more shadowy way, and we come in contact with those people, and if we feel like they don't treat people in a just and fair way, aren't being authentic, aren't being loving, we're probably not going to want to keep being in a relationship with them, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to do this 10-card spread. I have an alarm set. Once it goes off in 30 minutes, we're going to end the reading. If I get done with it before that, we'll end it earlier. But we're just going to do the basic gist of how different people might be harnessing their Cancer energy right now. And we all tap into Cancer energy. This might be something particular that people who are a Cancer sun sign or have significant Cancer placements in their astrological chart might be dealing with, but it could be affecting us all, and we all tap into Cancer energy is what I'm saying. So I view this card as the overarching reason for the reading, which is the Moon card, and the end card at the conclusion of the reading is the Nine of Cups. I view them both as Pisces energy. And Pisces energy can be that we're still kind of caught up in the illusion. We might not be seeing things clearly. Some people have learned to listen to their intuition, is what Pisces energy can be about. They have become more independent of their more caught up in the illusion of themselves and the world nature, and they've learned to listen to their intuition. They are more hopeful and believing in love and in themselves. But other people could still be more caught up in themselves or these things of the world that they're sure if they make their life about that, they'll be happy. So we start out with the Six of Wands, the Emperor, and the King of Swords. There could be some people in your life that you're defensive to. Aries and Libra energy, that you just feel like maybe they use their intuition in a shadowy way, that they could, in a lot of ways, kind of be a loving person, but they want to repeat this old pattern and have this way of viewing life where it could be more about them, and they don't ever temper their ego to get out of their inner conflict about why they could think that things should be more about them, or they're more inspired by operating from their defensive nature, their ego nature, making their life more about these things of the world. I want to have a certain status or image. I want to be in relationships with people who have a certain status or image, or look a certain way, or act a certain way, or have a certain amount of money or social clout or whatever. And that could still be what more drives them. Would they kind of like to be in a relationship with you? Yes, so long as you let them kind of manipulate you. We have 3 cards up here of Leo energy. High vibe Leo energy is working through your fears and your insecurity and your immature, indulgent, bossy, controlling, worldly nature to live your more authentic life from love and being more independent. Some people like to be in relationships with people who are like that, but they don't want to be that type of person. Shadowy Leo is trying to create an illusion that I'm that type of person too. You should be in a relationship with me. You should move forward with me in a relationship. But I operate more from my defensive Leo nature of ego and defensiveness. And you should let me be that way. And I might be a little bossy, a little controlling, a little manipulative, maybe shadowy Scorpio, maybe a little more superficial and shallow. This would be good for my ego and my image. You should get in a relationship with me. But it's like, or stay in a relationship with me. But you've probably already been in relationships with them and people like that. And your intuition is telling you, The Eight of Cups walks away from the Seven of Cups to go to the Nine of Cups. And the Seven of Cups, again, is Scorpio energy, where I could have been more defensive of loving and believing in myself. I could have been more manipulated by the world and codependency and ego and image and all those things. And at one time, all those things could have kind of manipulated me too, and that could have been my truth. But as time went by and I learned these lessons in life, I did work through some of my fears and insecurities, tempered my more beastly nature, about why am I not more authentically myself? Why am I defensive? Why don't I listen to my intuition and love myself and be more independent of my shadowy nature? Because when I'm in my shadowy energy of fear and insecurity or lust or greed or pride or ego or wanting to repeat these old patterns because I'm afraid of believing in myself and becoming independent of them, I end up getting in relationships with other people who are kind of in more shadowy energy, who want me to keep moving forward with them in a relationship, but it's kind of us indulging ourselves in our more defensive, egoic, worldly nature. And I want, in high vibe Scorpio, to be in more deep, meaningful relationships. And it could cause me some mental conflict because I, at one time, too, was caught up in the illusion of the world and being in a relationship to be in a relationship. And, if I had these certain things in my life or indulged in these certain things in my life, I'd be happy. And I just found out I was confused. And that's when we kind of realized I wasn't really listening to my truth and being more independent and believing in my dreams. And I could have settled for the illusion. Let's get in a relationship, get in a job, be in a friendship group because of these reasons. We all want to be in a relationship. We all want some stability and security so we can get jobs but is it the friendships, the relationships, the job that I really love and that really where people are encouraging and supportive and authentic and loving? Or am I getting more in relationships and jobs and friendships with people who are still defensive, who don't maybe have hope and faith and belief in their dreams, who are more caught up in the illusion of themselves or the world? Are they inspired by deep, meaningful relationships? And I come in contact with all these different people to help me get clear about what my truth is and my truth isn't. And the Five of Swords is Aquarius energy of I have a dream, and I can temper my ego for people and work together with people. I can be a loving and encouraging person to people, but until they make the decision to offer that cup of love to themselves, to work through some issues that they could keep buried underneath the surface, or this illusion that they can be more about themselves or these things of the world and maybe want to move forward in relationships with people who are loving, but they don't really want to be more connected in with their emotions and their intuition and loving nature. We all have to make the free will choice. Am I willing to become more independent of my defensive nature, or being more about myself, or making my life about these things that I make my life about that could be more about ego and image and me and indulgence than love? And we see, because we have worked together with people, we offered them love and encouragement to move forward with us in love. But some of those people have mental conflict about it because life is about making choices and what is my truth. And I had my idea of how I viewed life as being victorious and successful. And some of them, it really wasn't love. It was more about the world, and I want to look like a boss in the world, or I want to be in a relationship where I'm more indulged in a relationship and it's more about me. Well, you know, If love isn't as important, high vibe people get out of their ego about it. Okay, I accept that you have a way of living life and viewing life that you think will make you happy. I have been in relationship with you. And again, in a lot of ways, did it seem victorious and successful? In a lot of ways, did I want to keep moving forward in it? Do I have love for you? Yes. But I don't want to be in a relationship that's more of an illusion and stay in it more because of my own mental conflict about loving and believing in myself and believing in my dreams. Would it look like if I stay in it that I would have what everyone else has, or by worldly standards it would look victorious and successful? Yeah. But my dream is different than your dream, and I do want to free myself, get out of my more defensive, egoic nature, to live my more authentic life, and from love and truth and justice and fairness, and being in relationships with people who are being authentic and just and fair and treating me the way I treat them. And if that's not your truth, then I wish you peace, and from a place of love, you have the free will to live your life whatever way you want. This is my truth, and this is how I'm going to move forward. And I am going to love myself enough to work through my fears, my insecurity, my ego, to move forward in life and invest my time, energy, and effort into the people in my life, and go try to find the people in the world who I think are more on the same page as me. We live in a world of duality. Everybody's somewhere on the spectrum of having learned these different lessons in life. And if some people in my life I know are defensive to tempering their ego, listening to their intuition, being more independent, the King of Swords can just be a person's more self-protective nature. You know, if that's what makes you feel safe and secure, is being in your self-protective nature. If I do love, I get hurt doing love. I don't want to do love. Okay, well then keep living your life like that. I'm going to go find people that have kind of worked through those fears and insecurities to be inspired by love. And, you know, some people in shadowy Leo want to manipulate and control people. They use their intuition in a shadowy way. And if people in their life, they could be loving and encouraging people to people they get in a relationship with, but they don't like them being more independent of, let's just stay here and do life like this. I don't want to move forward in life differently. If you were to become more independent and free yourself from things that manipulate you, well then for me to move forward with you, I have to do that work and offer love to my fears and insecurities to move forward with you in that way. And some of those people aren't. And they're kind of hiding. They might want to be in a relationship with you still, but they do have these fears that cause them mental conflict, and they kind of are more emotionally invested in this way of living life or viewing life, and not ready to be more independent, more authentically themselves, more inspired by love. And so some of those people will try to get in relationships with people who they think are more in the same energy as they are, view life the way they view life, might be in their defensive nature, might live more from their mind than their heart, are more motivated and inspired to move forward in a relationship because of the ego and the image or whatever. Don't like being more independent in the world, could be more codependent. And until it causes them mental conflict living their life that way, they're going to keep living their life that way. And they might live their life that way forever, because they could have a lot of mental conflict about just living their more authentic life. And it can be making your life conform to the world. Well, it's most important to have a certain status or have a certain image. That's the most important thing. It's like, well, okay, make your life about letting your ego control you. And other people are going to go live their more authentic life. And it's kind of like caught up in the illusion, like, well, no, aren't you supposed to act like this? And aren't you supposed to do these things and act this way? And then people will view you a certain way. Really, people are going to view you and judge you kind of based on type of the person they are. There's other people in the world who live their life more caught up in the illusion, who never live their more authentic life. Well, those people are going to want other people to live their life that way. And when other people are standing up for themselves, are making good decisions in their life, are balanced within themselves, some of those people can, the more shadowy people who make their life more about indulgence or ego or image, those people kind of don't like it. It's like, well, why aren't you manipulated by these things? Why aren't you moving forward in that way? Why aren't you indulging yourself and making your life about these things that we make our life about? And then the people who harness this energy in a high vibe way, it's like, because I already did that and I thought it would be emotionally fulfilling, but I found it kind of superficial and shallow, and it caused me mental conflict to keep living a life of illusion. And I decided to live my more authentic life, and I'm standing up for myself and what I believe in. And I'm standing in my truth, and you can go live your life the way you want to go live it. And again, some of those people that are kind of living their life maybe more about being indulged, indulging someone else, more out of ego and image, when they see other people living their more authentic life, some of them could think, gee, I'd like to go live my life like that. And they could even be hiding that the reason they are doing what they're doing is more out of ego or because someone is kind of indulging them or out of fear or codependency. And then those people have to decide for themselves if they're willing to work through their own mental conflict about why they do what they do and why certain people stay in relationship with them. And are they willing to get out of their ego? People are living their life, and then other people see people living their life, and other people have to kind of decide, who do I think is living their life more in alignment with my truth? And it could cause people a lot of mental conflict because it's like, well, gee, these people seem to be more authentic. These people seem to be more tempered in their ego. But these people could look more like they're a boss in the world. Maybe I want to be someone who does maybe more control and manipulate people. Or maybe I'm more motivated by being more about my ego or my image is the most important thing. High vibe energy is about a balance. We all want these things of the world. We all would like stability and security, look victorious and successful, be in jobs and friendships and relationships with people who are loving and encouraging and inspiring. But some people, they kind of can get more tipped out of balance where they're willing to sacrifice the more creative, inspired, loving nature within themselves and people in their life, because in order to move forward with those people, they would have to become independent of their more worldly egoic nature or defensive nature or self-protective nature or being caught up in the illusion of the world. And they'd have to, high vibe Leo is also represented by the sun energy. They'd maybe have to illuminate some truth, and they would have to be more authentically themselves. But we always have people in our life who are kind of willing to indulge us in our more shadowy ways of being, and they could have people who are willing to indulge them in their more defensive, self-protective, immature or bossy or controlling ways. And then they don't have to do that work within themselves to free themselves from it. And we all can like the lazy route, right? And some of the people in their life could be hiding that they don't really find it, they could find it superficial and shallow too, but they have fears of being more independent and believing in themselves, more codependent on it. The same thing can happen in a job where you could have bossy and controlling, stubborn, prideful, manipulative, egotistical people you work with. Well, some people moved on. It's like, I would like that to have worked out. I tried to do my best and was hoping other people would kind of work more cooperatively with me. But if they're not willing to deal with the truth and they keep acting in these shadowy kind of ways of being, I'm leaving. And some other people could have more fear about leaving, just like people can have fear of leaving a friendship or leaving a friendship group or leaving a relationship. Other people kind of did the work to work through it and they are more inspired. I'm not willing. Would I like the Five of Wands comes after the Four of Wands? Would I like other people to be more just and fair and healed and loving and all that? Yeah. But if they're not, they're not. And I need to deal with the truth of it. And people keep repeating old patterns until they're willing to deal with the truth. And some people will never be willing to deal with the truth. The opposite of the sun is the moon. There's things buried beneath the surface that they do not want to deal with. Nope. I'm just going to keep moving forward in my ego. I don't have to deal with those things. But then it affects how they conduct themselves in the world. And then other people have mental conflict about dealing with them because, again, if you're not being truthful and honest and authentic and just and fair and treating other people the way you like to be treated, you kind of have these illusions about relationships and you kind of think it's just and fair. And then they think that other people should indulge them and think that's just and fair. And some people, again, out of their own fears and insecurities, they do keep indulging people in their poor behavior. And the people who kind of get indulged in their behavior love it. I'm glad you're still defensive. I'm glad you don't want to be authentically more yourself. I'm glad you let me manipulate and control you. But what people don't realize when they kind of indulge someone in their poor behavior, those people aren't, it is more about them. And if someone comes along who has more status, more ego, more image, more willing to indulge them, they'd be willing to leave this illusion that they created because it wasn't based on love anyway. And here's someone who's more willing to indulge me. Are you becoming more independent? I don't like that. Are you not letting me manipulate you the way I used to be able to manipulate you? I don't like that. And there's someone else. I'll go find someone else who I think is maybe a loving person who has mental conflict about believing in themselves and believing in their dreams, and I'll just go manipulate the next person. I'll keep moving forward in my defensive, self-protective, prideful, egotistical, manipulative ways of being, or superficial, shallow ways of being, because that's the truth of who I am. And we can all get in workplaces, friendships, and relationships with people like that. We can have love for them. And for a long time, we don't want to see the truth, because then if we illuminate the truth, those people might turn their back to us and get mad. And then everything's going to change. The fives talk about change. So we can all stay in those type of relationships for a long time, hoping things will change, that if we're loving and encouraging and supportive, that people will work through their fears and insecurities and their defensiveness and their ego nature to, and at some point, how long, until it causes enough mental conflict that I see my dream isn't going to come into reality here. And I do have a dream. And if I'm treating people and tempering my ego and being loving and authentic and warm, and they keep being defensive to that, there comes a point I need to see the truth. If they were motivated and inspired to be that type of person, they would have been. And maybe when I got in a relationship with them, I didn't listen to my intuition. because I had my own fears and insecurities of being more independent. So I did kind of indulge something that wasn't kind of maybe seeming to be on the same page. But maybe during the course of the relationship, I worked through some of those fears and insecurities and self-learning beliefs. Just like a job. You can get a job and it's like, wow, I am more capable than I thought I was. And I did take this job and stay in this job. But, I do believe that I can become independent of this. And I do have it within me to get the justice I deserve. Or I just decided I deserve to be in a more just and fair relationship. And if I've been trying to be loving and encouraging to people for them to move forward with me in a more just and fair relationship and they're not willing to, then I wish you peace. I'm moving on. So, what's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Cancer energy? And we have to get out of our ego to be willing to see where we need to heal and grow and mature, and why we could keep repeating patterns, and why we indulge people or indulge poor behavior in ourselves and others. And when we're ready to move forward in life differently out of love for ourselves and love that they have the free will to live their life the way they want, and that can be different. Their dream is different than our dream. Okay, I get out of my ego about it. I have my dream. I have the way I want to live my life. You have your dream, the way you want to live your life. I'm going to go work with the people who I think are more on the same page as me. Okay. The Two of Pentacles, the Judgment card, and the High Priestess. Why? Because of the Five of Pentacles. The Five of Pentacles can represent our philosophy of life. And we can get in relationships with people who kind of have a different philosophy of life. What drives them, motivates them. What makes them feel safe and secure or comfortable. Some people don't ever want to do love. They don't want to listen to their intuition. They like to feel like they're in control. They like to live more from their mind than their heart. Or they are more materialistically ego-focused. Love isn't as important. And because you were willing to deal with the truth, the Five of Pentacles moves away from the Four of Pentacles. And the Four of Pentacles was this foundation or this way of living life or viewing life that we had wanted to hold on to. But we were willing to temper our ego and see the truth. And that allows us, and love also allows us, to move forward in life. I wish you peace. You live your life the way you want. In the Two of Pentacles, I'm picking up my investment in this. And I'm going to maintain balance within myself. And I'm holding myself and other people accountable. If I feel left out in the cold in this relationship, if I feel people are being defensive or bossy or controlling or manipulative, that isn't my truth. If that's your truth and how you think is just and fair to be in a relationship, then you got to go find someone else to be that way with. It's not me. And I love myself enough to become independent of you. And I call judgment on you. And I'm going to listen to my intuition and my dreams. And the High Priestess is Cancer Pisces energy. This is Pisces. And so out of Cancer Pisces energy, out of love for myself and believing in my dreams and my truth and my philosophy of life of how I think people should conduct themselves in relationships or workplaces, it's different than yours. So, to each their own. But I'm going to listen to my intuition and I'm going to move on. And I think judgment will go in your favor because when you're taking action out of truth and love, not wishing other people ill will, but I want to move forward in relationships where people hold themselves accountable for their actions and they're inspired by love. And they're willing to change, get out of their ego. Be willing to admit that maybe there's some things that I should distance myself from. Maybe I am kind of defensive or bossy or controlling. Well, do I want to keep having people move away from me? Maybe I need to temper my ego. Why am I so defensive or self-protective? Why am I not more open to love? And they have to work through those things that they might keep buried beneath the surface. Offer love to those things so they can free themselves from it. But until they do, their truth could still be, nope, I'm doing this. And those people will go repeat that old pattern for sure that's gonna work in their favor. But I think judgment goes in favor of people. It's like learning lessons in life. And you go to the next phase of life. I don't want to repeat that pattern. I was 15. I was 18. I was 21. I was 25. I'm not that age anymore. I've already been there and done that. I'm ready to become independent of it and move to the next phase of life. So you kind of keep growing and healing and maturing yourself. And other people are like, but I don't want to. I have fear of being more independent. I have fear of getting out of my defensive nature. I have fear of not making my life more about me or these things of the world. Well, they're going to keep repeating that pattern until it bothers them. And it may never bother them. That might be their truth, and they'll keep living their life like that. What's coming up for people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Cancer energy? But people who are more balanced call judgment on people who they realize the sevens can kind of be tipped out of balance one way or the other. And they see the truth that some people are more tipped in favor in their free will to be more about themselves or the world. Well, if you want to move forward with other people, they have their dreams, their aspirations, their ways of viewing life. You need to work cooperatively with them. And some people are like, no, it's more my way. It's like, okay, well, good luck finding someone who wants to make it more about you. Other people are willing to be more just and fair and balanced with people. What's coming up that some of the more worldly, shadowy Cancer people might not see coming? It has to do with this card not showing itself. And the reason is because of the World card. Seven of Cups in reverse. Well, I view the Queen of Cups and the Seven of Cups as Scorpio energy. In high vibe, it's people who want deep, meaningful relationships. And the shadowy people could hide, since that card wasn't showing itself, that they kind of reject aligning with their more hopeful, believing, loving nature. Why? Because they do align more with their worldly nature. It's more about them, and these things of the world are the most important thing. And what they don't see coming is sometimes they can like to be in relationships with people who are more loving and open and giving, because that's great, right? If you're kind of an immature or bossy or controlling person, to get someone who's loving and nurturing and supportive and encouraging and isn't that way, is more tempered in their ego, and you can get in a relationship with someone like that, well, that's like great, right? They get to be kind of shadowy, and they're in a relationship with someone who's loving. The only problem is eventually the loving people have mental conflict staying in a relationship with them. And eventually the loving people kind of get out of being caught up in the illusion of these people, and they end a relationship with them. And that's what some of them don't want to see the truth of. They keep thinking, well, can't I be defensive? Can't I be bossy? Can't I live more from my mind than my heart? Can't I try to manipulate you? Can't I be and want to stay in the relationship? And don't you want to stay in the relationship more because of the ego and the image? I'm sure you won't love and believe in yourself to believe in your dreams. And eventually people are like, I can't keep staying in a relationship with someone who I feel is like indulging in a relationship with me, but it's not really love. That causes me mental conflict, and I feel like I'm not getting justice. And so eventually those people work through the confusion of it. You know, Scorpio does talk about our deep emotional connections with people and our contradictory feelings, and we have to work through all of that, where it's like, you know, I can love you and I don't want to be friends with you, or I don't want to be in a relationship with you or hang out much with you. I can love people, but if they're defensive or bossy or egotistical or manipulative or immature, want me to keep indulging them? No. I'll maybe see you at Christmas, but, you know, I don't really... Your truth is different than my truth. It's supposed to be being inspired by love, and love is where we treat each other the way we like to be treated, and some people don't want to learn that lesson, and they want to be indulged. So they're going to have some high vibe people leave their life. And then they could be defensive that those people didn't want to keep investing in the illusion. That's the Seven of Cups. The Eight of Cups walks away from the Seven of Cups. Well, why weren't those people willing to stay in a relationship with me? I have a certain status or image or money, or I was willing to have sex with them, or kind of temper my ego for them. But it's like, because I want to be in relationships with people who are inspired by love, and that's not you. It's just the illusion of love. But they keep not wanting to see the truth of it. So they'll keep moving forward in their ego, still not willing to do more authentic, deep, meaningful relationships. And they will go not become independent, and they'll repeat this pattern, looking to find someone else who might be defensive, has some lessons to learn from someone like this, just like other people did. And this person will come in and present themselves as this victorious, successful, loving, nurturing person that they should move forward in a relationship with. And those people will move forward in a relationship with them until they kind of see through the illusion, or they're like, I'm kind of on the same page as you. I think I'm willing to stay in a relationship with you for these reasons. And they both could be people who just like to make their life more about the world and these things that they indulge in. And they don't want to stop that. But it could cause them mental conflict to a degree, because they know other people aren't staying in a relationship with people more because of fear or insecurity or pride or ego or money or materialism, that it is because of truth and love and justice and fairness. And those people are moving forward in life differently than how they're moving forward. They're repeating an old pattern. They're not willing to kind of learn lessons in life. And so they keep repeating an old pattern where, in a way, nothing changes because they're unwilling to change. You have to be willing to change and heal and grow and mature yourself and detach from old ways of being if you want to give birth to kind of moving forward in life differently. And other people are going to move forward in life differently, and they're going to repeat this old pattern. But by worldly standards, it looks good. And if by worldly standards, something looking good is the most important thing, then they'll keep staying in it. But they could have a lot of mental conflict about it, because they know in a way that they weren't willing to be more just and fair in a relationship. They weren't willing to temper their more worldly, egoic nature. They wanted to go indulge in those things or be indulged. And it might look like they have everything that you could want in the world, but it isn't based on truth and love. Those things manipulate them, and they kind of know it. And they know other people aren't manipulated by those things, and those people are free to live their authentic life. So there you go, Cancer. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.